Governor, thank you for being with us.
Good to be with you.
At this hour, we're talking a little bit before 2 o'clock. It appears that former Vice President Joe Biden is poised to win the presidency. There has been some chatter that you would be considered for a cabinet position if he does win. So I'm wondering if you and the Vice President or any members of your teams have spoken about this potential opportunity.
Yeah. We haven't, and I have no plans to go to Washington. I am fully focused on Rhode Island. Of course, I am hoping to hear the news that Joe Biden is our next president any minute now, and that would be exciting. So I'd be thrilled if that would happen. It's time to move on from President Trump, but my plan is to stay right here.
With all due respect, when we asked you previously about potentially becoming the vice presidential candidate, you gave a similar answer and downplayed your potential for joining the Biden camp, and then we found out in the New York Times that you had a dazzling interview with the vice president. So why should Rhode Islanders believe you now about not joining the cabinet?
Yeah, so I haven't met with the transition. I haven't had meetings to do that, and as I said, I have no plans to do that. So, you know, I am here and I plan to stay here.
So if you're offered Treasury Secretary, you would turn it down?
Listen, I am here, I plan to be governor, I'm not in discussions to do that. First, let's make sure he wins. But as I said yesterday at the press conference, whoever wins, but I really hope it's President Biden, I have a job to do here. And I'm gonna wake up, hopefully he wins today, I'm gonna wake up again tomorrow and get back to work for Rhode Island.
Fair enough. Right now at the Board of Elections, there's a protest happening. Folks are saying there needs to be a recount. They believe that President Trump performed far better than what the totals show. What do you say to those people and people in general who believe the president when he says there has been rampant fraud and cheating this election cycle?
Yeah, there's just no evidence of that. You know, President Trump has proven to be very good at lying and fear-mongering on the basis of no evidence or facts. So just look at the facts. Rhode Island did a great job. We had a election with record turnout, predominantly mail ballot, which we've never done before, and seamless, smooth, no interference, quick results. So folks should feel confident that there's no evidence of voter fraud. All the votes have been counted, and they can have faith in the results.
Final election question, and then we'll turn to COVID. Of course, if the vice president secures victory, we will have our first ever female vice president as the state's first female governor.
Yes.
How does that feel?
It's awesome. It is awesome. Not so much for me, but for my 16-year-old daughter and for all the girls out there and younger women. It's just such a strong symbol. You know, it's one thing for me to tell young girls and women, you can be whatever you want to be if you work hard. It's another thing for it to be reality and for them to see that. I think you cannot underestimate the power of that, and the fact that she's a woman of color makes it just doubly monumental.
Turning now to the coronavirus, you said yesterday at your briefing that you're looking at potentially some targeted measures for communities that are seeing higher rates of spread. Is it possible that some of those communities, those higher density communities, will see, you roll back into phase 2 in those particular communities versus the entire state? Can you shed some light on what you're potentially thinking there?
So I haven't decided, and the truthful answer is we're still figuring it out. So this is real time. We'll spend the weekend this weekend talking about it. I'm going to get together with the mayors of Central Falls and Pawtucket on Monday. It's possible there'll be stricter regulations, very possible. Closing businesses earlier, asking people to, do a better job staying home. But it's just as likely that it would be more support, like more testing, more rapid testing, more asymptomatic testing, quicker contact tracing, or probably a combination of the two. We also see in those communities that you have a lot of people living in one small home or apartment, and through no fault of their own, it's just the reality. So we're also looking at other measures where we could provide better support around housing, just to help people quarantine and isolate appropriately as they need to.
In terms of Thanksgiving, I know you also mentioned yesterday you're looking at announcing some further restrictions, but we've already got the social gathering limit at 10. We've got this curfew in place. So I know some other governors have put a time limit on Thanksgiving or said it has to be held outside. There's stricter travel regulations now in place in New York. Are you considering any of those things?
All of the above, all of the above. I'm really worried about Thanksgiving. We are in a tenuous place right now. Thanksgiving could tip us over in the wrong direction. Holidays have been really tough during coronavirus. Memorial Day was a tipping point for Texas. We had a lot of problems after 4th of July in Rhode Island. And so I'm going to be more cautious to have tight reins on Thanksgiving because it's that important.
Should people be prepared to say to their out-of-state loved ones,
stay home?
You can't come.
Yeah. I would ask people now to start planning to celebrate essentially with your immediate family. That's my ask. Try to celebrate essentially with your immediate family. If you can't do that, consider having outside. Consider limiting the amount of time that you're with your extended family. Stay home here in Rhode Island. That's my ask, to start planning that way now. And it's likely we're going to come out with some, official regulations.
And finally, on sort of the enforcement of all of that, I know you said yesterday that there has so far been no individual fined for breaking the social gathering rules. You've mentioned several times that large super spreader party in the East Bay. Is that party going to be made an example of? Is that host going to be fined? And if so, how much?
Yeah. I don't know. They're looking into it. From everything I know about it, it seems an appropriate, use of a fine. But like everything else, there's due process. They're fact gathering. They're doing an investigation. And if the folks doing that find that, there were more than 15 people, it was deliberate, it was egregious, then they ought to be fined.
I mean, 350 people now in quarantine. It seems like it was all of those, and certainly egregious.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm not on the ground investigating it, so everything I know about it, it seems certainly an example of where a fine would be appropriate. But I know the state police is looking at it. I know we're getting information from superintendents around how many people actually were there. It's like everything. You have to be able to prove it. And I stand by due process. But I also stand by the fact that I want to find people who are not following the rules because their irresponsible action is hurting other people.
Awesome. Governor, thank you.
Thank you.